One of the most common issues, one of the most common complaints that clients have about their lawyers is inability to get a hold of them. Lawyers do not return phone calls, they do not respond to emails for days or even for weeks or longer. And this communication issue is so common that it causes so many attorney-client relationship fallouts, so many complaints, so many frictions. And this problem is so common that there are many classes and many seminars offered to lawyers on how to communicate with their clients promptly and effectively. In this video, I would like to talk to you about two things. First, I would like to talk to you about why these communication issues exist from a lawyer's perspective, from our side. And then I would also like to talk to you about some of the things you can do to either address communication issues that you might be having with your lawyer or avoid them in the first place. So let's first talk about why these communication issues exist. So here are the most common reasons. Many lawyers are way too busy. They take on way more work than they can handle, way more clients than they can handle. It's often hard to say no to a paying client. It's also hard to gauge, to figure out how much work you can handle. And these lawyers have lives of their own, believe it or not. They have families, they have personal issues. So if someone, let's say, is handling 30 cases at a time, at the same time, and they have kids to pick up from school, they have illness in the family, they have some other issues, this will necessarily cause delays and often significant delays in their responsiveness to you. This is especially true in an area of law that forces lawyers to run a volume practice, such as workers' compensation work. The only way to make that practice viable is to take on many, many cases, because workers' comp attorneys generally don't get paid much per case. There are other areas of law that also require volume. For many lawyers, personal injury, the non-workers' comp injury practice, is also a volume practice. They take a lot of small cases, a lot of small clients, and they cannot possibly communicate as effectively with their clients as they would if they had fewer cases. The other reason that there are communication issues is, believe it or not, but lawyers really dislike their work. Not all lawyers, but many lawyers really dislike their work. They have become very bitter and cynical about the law. This affects their motivation or lack of motivation, and it sucks out a lot of air out of them and a lot of desire to be eager to get back to their clients or to even get back to their potential clients. That's why you may have the experience of calling different lawyers about a new issue, trying to get their attention, trying to find someone to pay, and then so many of them don't get back to you for a while or don't get back to you at all, because so many of them, again, are bitter or disappointed in their work, in their career, and this is just the dark reality of this area of work. The other reason that there are communication issues is because some lawyers really, really dislike some of their clients. And you, as a human and as a lawyer, are much more likely to get back to someone quicker who you like, who you personally like. But if you have a client who you don't really like as a person, but you only represent them because they pay you and you need their business, you're going to be pushing, talking to them, or even emailing them back to the back burner. Again, this is just the reality of practice and also human reality. Now, what are some specific things you can do to address or avoid these communication issues with your potential lawyer or with a lawyer who you're already working with? So, first, select your lawyer the right way. Word of mouth is still the best way to find an attorney. If you get a recommendation from a trusted friend or a trusted colleague of a lawyer who they worked with and they had a good experience being represented by, of course, it's going to be better than finding a random lawyer on Google search or selecting some lawyer because they have a flashy website. Their website designer skill and that lawyer skill are not the same things. Um, Now, let's say you received a referral from a trusted friend of an attorney. If that attorney doesn't get back to you in a day or two, you're probably not going to be very anxious because you know that that lawyer did a good work for someone you trust. So you're not that concerned they're going to get back to you. However, if you have delays in communication with someone who you know nothing about whom you have to guess whether they're good or not, whether they will get back to you or not, that will cause you unnecessary anxiety, maybe more worry, maybe less worry. But working with someone you don't know much about will create issues and will get you to worry where otherwise you wouldn't be worried if you worked with someone who has been vetted. So, word of mouth, I don't care how much technology, how much AI is out there, word of mouth is still the best way to find an attorney. Ask people around. Surely someone had a similar issue or issue in the same area of law who they could refer you to. Number 2, do not rush to hire a lawyer. Communicate with a lawyer for a couple of weeks. If that lawyer isn't motivated enough to get back to you by email within a couple of days, they will likely be even far less responsive once you hire them. So perhaps that's not the right lawyer for you. There is no rush to sign a retainer agreement with that lawyer in most cases. Unless you have a criminal issue, most civil issues can wait several days. They can even wait several weeks. So see how you communicate with the attorney. See if you like the style of your communication with each other before you tie the knot, so to speak. Number 3, don't work with someone who you personally dislike. If you have a case and you're looking for representation, you're going to have to work with that lawyer and talk to them for weeks, for months, maybe for a year or even longer than a year. It's going to be a relationship. You should not be paying someone you dislike talking to, who you dislike as a person, who rubs you the wrong way. And they shouldn't be working with you ideally if they don't like you. Number 4, do not skip this important step. And this is important for both clients and lawyers. One big mistake that both lawyers and clients make is skipping over establishing expectations when it comes to communicating. If you're a lawyer, you may want to tell your client very early on during your first meeting that you generally respond to calls and emails within 1 to 3 days, so they know what to expect. Sometimes you're in hearings or in trials. Sometimes you're on vacation and you might not be available for longer, for a week, for 2 weeks, maybe for longer, but you will let them know so that they're not worried. You can also tell your client that it's much better to communicate by email than by phone for all non-urgent things, because it's easier for you and because it stays in your inbox, so that if you need to look back at your communication, at the information, it's all going to be there. And again, unless it's a criminal case, the vast majority of other issues are not urgent, and they can certainly wait a couple of days, and they're better discussed by email, especially technical details. As a lawyer, you should also ask in the beginning if your client has particular concerns that really worry them, that keep them up at night, and you would try to address. Some clients might tell you that they've been really disappointed in their previous 2 or 3 attorneys, and they're really afraid of getting into the same situation again. Some clients are concerned about not hearing back from you. They have all kinds of anxieties about their legal issues. You have to talk to them, and you have to make sure that they feel more comfortable, they feel more at ease working with you. And if you're a client who is talking to an attorney, you should be voicing these concerns too, not in a way that where you accuse them of something they haven't done yet, but you could tell, look, I'm a person to whom prompt communication is important. This is important for me in people, in a lawyer. Are you good at communicating? Can I expect to hear back from you within a couple of days if I email you? I promise I'm not going to bother you for no reason, and I'm not going to be checking on my case every day or every hour. And this brings me to a related point. The world doesn't revolve around you. You have to remember. You have to remember this. Guess what? Your lawyer has other cases and other clients to represent. You can focus entirely on your case, but they cannot. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be doing the best job they can on your case, but you got to keep that in mind that they run a business. That lawyer also has day off and personal life. Be mindful of that and don't treat your lawyer like 911 emergency service. They're not. Also, they cannot help you fix your problem instantly. If you've been disciplined at work or fired, they cannot immediately get you reinstated or get you paid for a wrongful termination. If you've been in a car accident and you've been injured, there is nothing that lawyer can do to fix your health or get you paid today or tomorrow. It's a process. It's going to take a while. If you suffered from some kind of medical error at a hospital, there is nothing a lawyer can do to bring that medical facility to justice today or tomorrow, or to get them change the ways they treat patients right away. Again, it's a process. It takes a long time, even if you end up prevailing in your case. Number 6, don't send nasty, threatening emails to your lawyer. As tempted as you might be to give your lawyer a piece of your mind, especially when you're frustrated, when they're not getting back to you, giving them ultimatums, threatening to lawyers with a complaint to the bar or any other type of action isn't going to do anything good. If you're not happy, look for a new attorney, switch attorneys. Sending nasty emails is not going to do anything good. If you have an issue, pick up the phone and call and talk about it. Because even if you continue working with a lawyer after you send that nasty, threatening email, the relationship between you is not going to be the same. And you don't want to work with a lawyer who is not as motivated about representing you and getting you the best deal, putting the best case out there for you in court. If you rub them the wrong way, they're going to have a hard time getting over it. And that's just not going to be a good situation. Give your lawyer the benefit of the doubt. If your lawyer has been communicating well with you for a while and all of a sudden they disappeared for a few days or longer, who knows what happened? They might have a personal issue. Maybe they had to leave the office unexpectedly. Maybe they have to be out of town and they're away from their email for a few days. Ideally, lawyers should be taking care of that stuff and putting their email on autoresponder or whatever. But still, if it happens the first time with your lawyer, you shouldn't be assuming the worst things, that they're doing this to you on purpose. They don't care about you. They don't care about your case. Chances are that this is not the case. If you have an issue, have a live conversation to address it on the phone, in person, or even by Zoom, and not by email or text. We all know how quickly things can escalate in the wrong direction in emails and in text messages. Many of us have experienced it in our personal lives, in our romantic relationships with coworkers. If there is an issue, pick up the phone and talk about it. The chances of clearing it up that way are way higher than in writing. History and most people's experience shows that when you're trying to argue or prove something to the other person in writing, things only get worse. And this applies to both, to clients and to lawyers. If you're a lawyer and you have a client who you value and otherwise appreciate, and there is some kind of misunderstanding, some kind of friction, pick up the phone, talk, and clear it up, and things will only get better when you become real with each other and you move on from there forward. Number 9, meet your lawyer at least once in person if possible. So many clients work with lawyers who they have never met before in person, even though they live in the same area, they live in the same city. Some clients have never even spoken with the lawyer. They never heard their lawyer's voice. They only talked to the assistant. They don't even know who represents them. Not a good idea. You want to know who you're working with. It's not that much to ask to be able to speak at least once, at least in the beginning, with a lawyer who's working on your case. And nothing establishes trust, and nothing establishes the right type of rapport than meeting in person, again, at least once in the beginning, especially if you're going to work together for a while on your case, for months, maybe for a year or longer. Look, there is a reason that all kinds of successful people and politicians and prime ministers and presidents get on a plane and fly to meet their colleagues overseas. They have fancy video set up in their offices with large screens and nice microphones, and yet they still get up, get on that plane, and they fly because they know that there is no substitute for in-person presence. Don't have to meet with your lawyer in person every time you talk, but at least in the beginning, if you live near that lawyer's office, if you're not located in another country, on another state, make that effort and meet in person, and there will be much more trust and much more cohesion in your work once you had that meeting. That's just, again, human nature. And lastly, if things don't work out, if your lawyer doesn't get back to you chronically, if you're getting frustrated and anxious because you don't hear back from them for weeks, do not wait till the last moment to switch an attorney. Do not wait till a month before trial to look for a new lawyer. Very few lawyers want to take over cases at the last moment. It's going to be very hard for you to find a lawyer the longer you wait and the closer you are to some kind of deadline, such as motion to dismiss, motion for summary judgment, even a discovery deadline, a trial deadline. Nobody wants to jump into that type of situation unless they really, really have to. So if there is a problem, address the communication problem sooner than later. And if you see that you cannot address it, look for a new attorney, look for a new representation sooner than later. I hope these 10 points will help you with your communication challenges with your attorney. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them below, and I'll be sure to read and address them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.